Yo, 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 welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's been an extremely long time. Extremely long time since we had this podcast for many reasons that you guys know why we haven't had this podcast. Is because this baseball team has sucked. But finally, ding dong, the witch is dead. The 2022 Chicago White Sox season is officially over. They finished at a mediocre, the definition of mediocre, 81-81 to finish this season. They've missed the playoffs for the first time since 2019. And we're here to talk about it, man. It is He Gone, episode 14, man. The guys are back. Your man Scott, Dante, Mikey. And we got a special friend of the program here with us, my guy, Shaun Davis. He is Shaun Davis of the Irish Breakdown. You can get all his information about everything Notre Dame, formerly of ESPN 1000, WGN. One of my guys, man, who's really helped me in this media space, man. You can follow him at SD2 Mikes on Twitter. You know to follow me on Twitter at BarbChair Scott. Follow Dante on Twitter at OctoberZoneTay. Follow Mikey on Twitter at Junior_Solito. And of course, you follow the Barbers Chat Network at Barbers Chat Net on Twitter and Instagram. Visit the BCNet.com. The Patreon, Barbers Chat Net Patreon is free for this week only. So you're gonna be able, you heard, send them with the guys for free. You're gonna hear some of sessions for free this week. My seven night the Howlers Bears Vikings preview podcast. Spoiler, it's not gonna be good this Sunday. It's dropping on Friday. So check that shit out. Flows will be at the game live from I think it's US Bank Stadium. I think that's the name of that stadium. So he will be there to give y'all coverage on that. But how you guys doing? We've been having a group chat back and forth for a while about everything. Mikey and Dante. Wish I could have like we should have like an intern who could play back old vocals for when y'all called like an episode 2.
Yeah.
We're like, how y'all feeling, man?
Glad it's over. It's like, because we are all true White Sox fans. And what I mean by that is that we've been following this team for years, and we know how this team operates. I can't even say I'm optimistic about the future. I'm just here, bro. I'm really looking to see what they do and like where we go from here, because I think even with you saying, we missed the playoffs for the first time since 2019. I don't count the COVID season. It was 50
I don't
games.
either. I was being nice.
I don't
That
count
was my
it.
official answer.
That was very generous of you. That was very generous. And so, but that's how you've been with them all season. So, but no, for me, it's really just I'm taking at this point. I have to take the wait and see approach, the same way we treat the Bears, the same way we treat every other Chicago sports team. It's like when you see the trend and it happens over and over and over. But for me, I feel like if this is one of the most disappointing seasons in team history, just based off the potential you had every major outlet coming into this season saying the White Sox was going to win 92, 95 games. Like they were supposed to be a true contender and learn from what happened last season, and that didn't happen. And we saw that from the jump. Like you said, me and Mikey jumped off the bandwagon pretty quick. By
the second pod, we said, "Wait, I don't know."
Yeah, it's one thing to start out slow, but then when you saw like the team was just lifeless, and it was like, oh, this might be who they are. This just might be the team we get, and that's what we had all season. So, like I said, I mean, I'm here, bro. That's how I'm here.
You just here looking for high vibrational plates. That's what you're looking for.
You the perfect embodiment of the White Sox season. They were just there. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'm here. I'm just here so I don't get fined. It's I wish we were getting ready to cover, whether a wild card game or something, tomorrow, but we saw it, bad habits, and kind of like how Dante said, like we're in a wait and see approach. The first episode that we did, it was a lot of what ifs. It was like, we wanted to wait and see in season. We were like, well, if they stayed healthy, if they could hit, if Michael Kopech, if Dylan Cease, and like it just ended up being exactly what their record was, man. They were a mediocre 81-81. It went from the start of the season after that first first 3 series.
When they were on that 8-game losing streak.
As soon as they went to go play Cleveland that first time in April, then it was like the bad habits started to rear their ugly head. So it's disappointing. I'm excited still. I love baseball, so I'm excited for the playoffs. I kind of have like some sneaky teams that I think might be able to make a run. But as far as the White Sox, man, it's looking ugly. I got some notes here that we'll get into, and I don't know where they go. I don't know where they go for next year.
I just feel like I've been duped, and I can't figure out by who. Is it the players? Is it the front office? Is it the entire organization? I just feel like I've been duped. I agree with you guys. I don't even count the COVID year. It's like, yo, and I think in a sense, I go back and I listen and I remember things that were said by Giolito, things that were said by Tim Anderson. Like these dudes were smelling themselves and hadn't accomplished anything. Like, yeah, we can play, we can play with anybody in the league. It's like, nah, man. And I think when you get to that point, you forget the work it takes. You don't put in the work. And that's my question now. Like, like you said, where do we go from here? Like, is this going to be a total transplant? Because we might be losing even more than a rebuild. We might be losing the heart and soul of this organization over the last decade. So what happens then? Like, we don't even know what the team is going to be like, who's going to be the leader, because other than that, I really don't see any leaders, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. But yeah, I feel like I've been duped. There's a bunch of players I feel like that were sold to us, and I'm like, nah, this dude ain't it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you, Shaun. I think that's the best word to describe how I'm feeling too. I feel like I was duped. Like, and I held on the longest out of the three of us on this fight. Dante was off Dante was all quick. Like Dante stopped watching probably like at the end of May.
Dante in Atlanta. He saw Spencer Strider. He saw Michael. Right. He was like, yeah, I'm good. I ain't even gonna worry about that.
And that's the frustration, because like I said, like we all are Chicago sports fans, so we see we know how this goes. So to sit here and be that close to an organization that actually does it the right way, and then see the things that were coming out of Chicago, the reports, just people saying, what is we're trying to say? Oh, we'll hopefully we're having that conversation after the parade. And it's like, what team are you watching? What team do you watch? Are you watching that made you believe that this was actually a possibility? So like, and like I said, I try. Like it was so many times I tried to tune in, and I'm just like, this is horrible baseball. Like it was ridiculous.
There was times where me and Mikey, you'd be like, well, they do this, and Dante in the group chat like, why are we doing this for, brother?
Dante went to Vegas that weekend. That's when we lost him. Dante went to Vegas for a weekend. He was like, man was watching Usher. He wasn't worried about no lyrics.
He's like, man, fuck this.
At that weekend, that's when we lost him. He was like, I'm done.
Man, bro. Yeah, it was so many trends though. Like, even speaking of Lurie, bro, like I think that record was something crazy when he actually played, but Tony kept playing him. He kept putting him in the lineup. And then, back to having first baseman in the outfield all season. It's like, this is a joke. Like, they're not serious. They're not for real.
Well, it's like with me, I think I was officially done with them like mid-July. Like mid-July is like, and even when I mean like done, like I haven't like outside of the game I went to, and Dante was at the game too. Me and Dante went to the game. They played. It was Houston, right? It was Houston.
Yeah, it was Houston.
It was before the 79th Howler show. So it was Houston. And shout out my man Mike, by the way, for the tickets. You know what I'm saying? Look,
Mike.
Yeah, he always looking out for the ticks, you know what I'm saying? Even though they got a lawsuit, it's good. No problem when you're sitting right behind the, right next to, right next to the dugout. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter who win at that point. But I think like July is when I stopped like watching them. You know what I'm saying? Like I would know from afar what was happening. Of course, I get the scores coming to my phone. But it's like it's just a point of the season where you notice who this team is. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's just irritating. Like, Dante, you was talking about how it's one of the worst seasons in Chicago. To me, it's the worst White Sox season by far, considering the circumstances. Now, of course, we've had worse teams, but like considering the circumstances, considering the hype, it was the worst White Sox season. I don't even like when people compare them to 2019 Bears. The 2019 Bears was bad, but we all knew the main issue with that team was they didn't have a fucking quarterback. This was just like, I don't even know where to start. Like you could pick one thing and just be on that for 10 minutes. Well, how many problems it's like a trickle down effect. You got an owner who don't give a damn. You got a vice president and Kenny Williams who's got one foot out the door because he's gonna retire when his contract is up. You got Rick Hahn, who is, at this point, one of the most overrated general managers in the game. And I don't want to hear about what JR doesn't let him do, because if either you quit or you're gonna get this accountability. That's just pretty much I am where it is. And you got an old geezer in Ryan, not Ryan, but Ryan's too, but LaRussa, and one thing I've been saying on this podcast, and I'm gonna keep saying, I don't want to take the spotlight off the players. Was La Russa a huge problem? For sure. I blame these players more than anybody. You know what I'm saying? I didn't see any improvement from anybody. You know, the times that Tim Anderson did play, he was not good. I'm at the point with TA. I love TA, but if you're not gonna learn how to play defense, my guy, we gonna have to move you around or something like this. You know, nobody can stay healthy. You know, and for all these White Sox fans who act like Andrew Vaughn is this untouchable prospect, I didn't see none of that this year. You know what I'm saying? And we could just be here all day, and we're gonna get into in this podcast all different problems. But it was just like it's one of those things where you have a bad car, and it's not like, oh man, I just gotta get the engine fixed. No, you gotta get the engine fixed. You gotta get the rear view light fixed. You know what I'm saying? You need a new paint job on this motherfucker. That's exactly what it is. And I loved how the Guardians ran the score up on the White Sox at the end. Yeah. Then I think they lost. They were out by 10 games, weren't they? If I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah. They
double digits.
They left no doubt.
Yeah,
but they left no doubt as to whose division it was this year, and to how bad and how severely disappointing this White Sox season was. And it's just like Shaun said, what's the next step? It's just a total miscalculation by the organization on these players, on then Jerry inserting himself in that manager search and saying, no, you got to hire my boy. Like, it was just a total miscalculation. And not only Gio and TA smelling themselves, I think Rick Hahn too. Because didn't he get like executive of the year? Was it
like during the pandemic season?
So he was like, okay, we got some guys, and it just blew up in their face, man.
Yeah, man, definitely. Let's get into the rundown, man. Gotta give a shout out to Mikey for making this rundown. Real nice breakdown of it. Let's talk about most disappointing part of the season, and we'll go around, circle, man. Let's start with Shaun, man. What was the most disappointing part to you from this entire season?
The first month.
Okay, that's good.
Like, dude, that's when you knew. That's when you started to see, like, nah. I think like after they were like maybe 4 games above 500.
They started like 6-2.
Yeah,
they started 6-2.
And then after that,
never was the same.
Yeah. Like you just saw the stitches coming up. It was almost like that thread that's hanging off a piece of clothing. If you keep pulling it,
you keep pulling
it starts to come apart.
Yeah.
It's like, yo,
getting tighter.
Yeah. It's like the culture of the team. The more you pulled, you started to see what was really under the hood with this team and how fragile they were. Like, as much as they talked, when it came down to it and the rubber hit the road, these dudes were soft.
Yep.
They were soft mentally. They didn't put in the work. And you could tell. It showed. Like, what? The quality goes in. What was that, Zenith? The quality goes in before the name goes on.
Yeah.
These cats tried to put championship on their banner or on their backs before they even put in the work.
Before they want
it takes time. It takes time. And they probably needed somebody like a AJ or like a Paul Konerko to tell them, like, yo, this ain't y'all
ain't championship baseball.
Yeah, like who was that? MJ, when he told Steve Kerr and all those guys that came in on the second three-peat, like, y'all, dude, this ain't all sweet.
Yeah.
Y'all don't know nothing about this work.
Yeah.
So, man, I'm gonna two-piece you. I'm gonna apologize, but you're gonna know, like, this is the expectations, and they needed somebody to let them know. They had no one to connect really to the tough times to say, yo. And I guess Jose was there when things were tough, but Jose is really not vocally that leader that can just kind of like galvanize guys and really pour into guys. Like, look, he pours into guys in a different way as far as being a professional. Mm-hmm. Playing through injury, like that dude is a tank. Like, I don't know how he gets out on the field the way he gets on the field after injuries, but yeah, they just didn't have it. Tony couldn't do it. The closed meeting they had with Kenny Williams, nothing. It was like, yo, these dudes just no heart, man. Yeah. They just didn't have any heart. And when you don't have an overall culture, Dante, like you said, you're blessed to watch a culture that's been going for like over 20 years. Like that culture goes like over 30 years down in Atlanta. So even when the talent or they get to a point where they're not good, you already know they're bouncing back. Why? Because you know they're developing players.
Bro,
At
that's the
30
thing
years,
too. Like everybody was talking about like injuries at the beginning. I'm like, bro, the Dodgers' whole rotation is out, and these motherfuckers just win the most games in like
right.
modern history. You know what I'm saying? Like when you say it's a culture thing, it's just from top to bottom.
Yeah.
It's just a mess. Like for me, the most disappointing part for me is the offense was just god awful, man. It was just like watching paint dry. Like, and the thing that like pissed me off the most when people act like this offense was good last year. It wasn't good last year.
No.
Now it was, leaps and bounds better than it was this year. But last year wasn't good either. How many times we on Twitter in the group chat to my man, they can't do shit with runners in score position. Me and Shaun would talk about this. Me and Shaun been talking about this since the end of the pandemic season. We was like, these dudes don't play great situational baseball. Like since then, ain't nothing changed. In fact, it's just got progressively worse, bro. Like it's to the point where it's like score. You know what I'm saying? Like you playing one of the most hitter-friendly parks, and you had other cats coming in putting up more home runs in your park than you do. And I wasn't trying to hit the injury excuse. We were more injured last year, and you played better last year than you did this year. But also that has to do with general manager because this roster is not deep. Like, it's just not deep. Like, even if you look towards the tail end of the season, and they were like, look at Elvis Andrews. For me, I'm a big process over results guy. Like, yes, he had a great second half of the season. He's the only reason they even had somewhat of a poster then. But you shouldn't have been bargain shopping to fucking begin with. And I feel the same way about Cueto. Cueto was great this year. But the fact that Cueto was our number 2 starter, and you went bargain shopping with him because you wanted to give Dallas Keuchel another fucking shot, just shows you the organizational malpractice that we have. It's process over results. They don't have any process. So the most disappointing thing to me is like they literally don't know what the hell they're doing. Like you said, Shaun, it's like they felt like something would be given to them. And that's why I had a lot of my Cub fan homies talking shit to me. I ain't say nothing to them. I wasn't mad or nothing. I'm like, y'all right. I can't say nothing. As a fan base, we was talking a lot of shit. I get it. And what they won, 5 games more than the Cubs?
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
My boy texted me the other day. He's like, did you think when you would wake up at the end of the season that y'all would only be about, I think it's like 8 games better than the Cut? And I was like, absolutely not. Like,
nah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I think the most disappointing for me, the most disappointing part, and it's what I started, this show off with on episode 1 was I wanted to see them mature. I wanted this team to mature. And that was from, like how Shaun said, how they carry themselves, how they play the game, how you run the bases, how you play, how you field your position, the type of professional at bats you have. Don't waste shit. How many times with this team do we see first pitch swing and pop up? How many times did you see this season Dylan Cease towards the back end of the season when he was starting to kind of tire out? He have a long 27, 29, 33 pitch inning, and they come right out 9 pitch inning, 7 pitch inning. You know what I'm saying? Like no common sense, no situational awareness. They just, to me, they don't have baseball players, if that makes sense. They got physical specimens and people with talent and crazy attributes and people that they look good to look at in a uniform and but this ain't football. When you get off the bus, you're not looking to be like, oh, they got big men. Like look at Stephen Kwan. He's as big as me. You know what I'm saying? But he plays the right way. They don't have they don't have baseball players. Since the pandemic year, I've been saying Luis Robert could play center field, but man, does he not hit the cutoff. And that matters. In the first round last year against the Astros, they got about 4 runs that series alone off of the little shit. Not you trying to throw somebody out at third, not realizing that you just let the runner advance to second base. Now you got to, you know what I'm saying? Like just they did not mature as a ball club. And I thought at the very least, Tony La Russa's presence would have cleaned that up. If
anything, I thought they'd at least be coached up.
If anything, they would be coached up to play smarter. And they weren't. And it's just been a terrible 2 years, man, with the Tony situation. And they all regressed. So that's the biggest disappointment for me. I wanted to see them mature after getting their ass kicked to Houston and play the way the Astros play. Play the way the Braves play. Play the way it's hard to play the way the Dodgers play because they're just, that's an all-star team.
It's monster shit.
But look at the Astros, and like Mike Tomlin says, the standard is the standard. They are the standard for the AL. That's just what it is. Like it, love it, indifferent.
Talk about cheating, whatever you want to talk about. That's
the standard. Feel about it, they're the standard.
They lost Carlos Correa. Oh, it don't matter. 100 games.
They lose Carlos Correa. It doesn't
right
matter. They lose Garrett Cole. It doesn't matter. Lance McCullers, Framber Valdez. You know what I'm saying? They go and they get Verlander. And they got a manager who I fuck with Dusty. He hasn't won it all yet, but hey, he's what I thought Tony La Russa would be like. They had the young kid. I forgot his name. JJ Matsevic. I might be pronouncing it wrong. He hit a home run against us on Sunday Night Baseball. Very first, he had got called up that day. Very first career home run. He kind of pimped it. Dusty Baker's, they whooped our ass. Dusty Baker says something at the end I'm very proud of him, but that's not what we do here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I just thought I just thought Tony was gonna bring some type of balance and mature them and coach them up, and we didn't get that. And that's the most disappointing part because I don't feel like roster-wise for the starting guys, I don't feel like anybody has gotten better. And during the Tony La Russa regime, Dylan Cease got better, but that that's the staff, that's the pitching staff. Out of the position players, I don't think any of y'all can tell me that any of the core guys got better within these last 2 years, and that leaves us with what is happening next.
Yeah,
I feel you, GM. My most disappointing part of the season is honestly the offseason. I think coming in, like we all talked about, the series. In my opinion, the series against the Astros really should have opened everybody's eyes to the holes on this ball club.
Should have refocused them.
We overlooked it because they won the division, but then we all knew we were in a terrible division. So it's like in the offseason, I expected them to go get a right fielder. I expected them to add an arm. Even if we brought back Rodon, but then they not only did they not do that, we overspent on the bullpen. Joe Kelly was terrible. Let's just be honest. He had it. They knew he had a nerve.
Team control for another 2 years.
They knew he had a nerve issue when they gave him all this money. So it's like those type of issues for a relief pitcher who has a very specialized job. I don't think you invest that much money in a guy like that. The same with Kendall Graveman, even though he had bright spots this season, but somebody made a very good point. It was like you don't give Kendall Graveman $50-60 million. You get one of those from your farm system. You make guys like that. You cultivate guys like that. And those once, like I said, I know I checked out early, but once I saw the way we attacked the offseason, it was like, nah, this is not gonna work. We basically brought back the same squad. I was like, we're gonna just run it back. We good. And like you said, those teams with those cultures, they don't even they beat us, they kicked our ass. It was something where it was like they showed you don't belong on this stage.
Yeah,
you're running your mouth like you do, but you do not belong here. You don't have.
And the one game they won, they had to come back from 5 runs down.
They were down. Exactly, bro. So that was probably the most disappointing thing for me. But also to Shaun's point, they were soft, and it's like you can't run your mouth like you a big dog, and you don't even belong on the yard. You got pumped. Yeah. Man, in Giolito, that might be my most disappointing part of the season.
He stinks.
Giolito, he was.
Let's just get that out
terrible.
the way.
He was terrible.
He's ass.
So
Giolito.
Right, you posturing and arbitration and all of that about the money you should be getting in. This is gonna come back to bite. I'm gonna remember this. We're gonna remember you how you played this season.
Rick Hahn need to file a charge back. Rick Hahn need to file a charge back on that shit.
Yeah. Right, and it was just crazy. But like I said, I know I said 3 things, but I really say the off season. The off season really it set the tone for how they were gonna play this year.
Yeah, but not to cut into you, but to piggyback on that, how you said the off season moves. What made it even worse was the double down in the summer.
Oh,
it make no, you know what I'm saying? The off-season moves, and then after seeing how they played the first 3 months and then not really doing shit.
You mean the blockbuster trade of Jake Diekman?
That's okay. That's okay. They almost threw in the white flag. That makes you think they threw in the white flag to start the season. That right there, the lack of the off-season moves, and then mid-season, it's okay. You talking all that tough shit, like you said, Dante, about we'll see at the champion parade. You're not even trying to add nobody. You're going to get Jake D. You know what I'm saying? That's what you're doing. You investing in the bullpen that you already invested in the offseason that didn't work. So now let's go to the middle of the season, invest in it, and then that didn't work. Yeah.
And that goes to the lack of flow in the organization. You know what I'm saying? Because I argue with fans. I felt like, yo, if I'm Rick Hahn, I'm not doing a damn thing for this team either.
And you said that too. Like
And
you
I
told me that a
related
couple
it to
times.
Anthopoulos, right? Anthopoulos last year with the Braves, like everybody got injured.
Boom, boom,
And
boom, boom, boom.
everybody got injured, but the guys that were left fought. And they fought so hard that he felt like, yo, I just can't, these dudes fighting too hard. I got to add pieces and give them a chance because they're fighting. They're showing heart. Rick Hahn can see it. These dudes don't have no heart, man. So you want me to go and mortgage the future? When these dudes, no. You're gonna climb out of this hole yourself.
Yeah.
You have to do it yourself. And they weren't able to do it. So at that point, I really, man, like I said, not like I said, but like you said, Tate, I would definitely go back to the offseason.
Yeah.
Because it shows they have no one in the organization has a clue of how to put a roster together.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah, and I think it's like a Reinsdorf own thing because the Bulls they use the same fucking playbook this offseason. And you know when we see Zach and DeMar going 2-on-5 in about 4 weeks, we're gonna have the same fucking complaints. But yeah, I'm with you. It's just been like just overall like that did set the tone. You know what I'm saying? And then also, and we talking about the off season, and we were talking about this too in like our off season pod. These weren't like earth-shattering money, big money type of spins they could have made. Fucking Kyle Schwarber got like 45 home runs this year. I was wrong about Rodon. I thought his arm was gonna die. He was great.
Hell of a year. I
gotta get Mike.
Yeah, Mikey called that. Mikey called that.
You know what I'm saying? That who else? Jock Peterson was good this year. You know what I'm saying? Like Castellanos was good again. Like all these guys could have brought some, and you wouldn't necessarily gonna break the bank. And they kept talking about the money's gonna be spent. And we're gonna get into Rick Hahn because one thing I was right on. I told Shaun this a long time ago. I don't know why y'all fuck with Rick Hahn. I said this a long time ago. One thing I could do, I could sniff out a bad GM very quickly. And Ryan Poles, you were under surveillance. But that's a whole nother day. It's time for another day. But you know, and so we're going to get to that later, but I was just like, these are like, you spend all this money on this huff-ass bullpen instead of getting positional players. Bullpen guys can always be had for the low at the deadline. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're supposed to get your arms in there. And the worst part is they don't have a good farm system now. Like, all they top guys up. And they underperforming. And here's another thing that we didn't talk about that pissed me off. The way they handled the injuries this season was ridiculous. Why did it take so long for them to shut Michael Kopech down when it's obvious my man couldn't stand on his plant knee? You know what I'm saying? Like Luis Robert literally couldn't swing the bat like the last month. Yeah. And they just didn't put him on the IL. It's just small stuff like that, which is for, Dante, you're watching the Braves. I'm watching the Dodgers. Simple stuff like that. With these organizations who are off this weekend, by the way, because they actually dominated, you know what I'm saying, and did things they're supposed to do. That's culture stuff that they would have handled things like that. And the White Sox, they're just bad at it, man. And that's just the most irritating thing. Now, the next part of this is what's the bright spot? I think this is pretty much going to be a unanimous bright spot. If anybody isn't saying Dylan Cease, I don't know what else to say. That's the only bright spot. That Dylan Cease actually looked like the pitcher that we thought he was going to be. Having said that, you got to do it again. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just have 1 year and then he back walking five people in the inning next year.
I throw my runner-up bright spot, Raylo. I thought he was a bright spot this year.
Yeah.
I think you have something to build on, and we'll get into it when we talk about moves. Where you might, if you look at his roster and you might be able to get something for Liam Hendricks, I think you might be able to start maybe sliding Raylo into that 8th inning role. And, Graveman is closed before if you hold on to him. But I thought Raylo and, those both came from, from Ethan Katz's side. But like I said, no positional players were the bright spot. So Raylo would be my second behind Dylan Cease for sure.
And I think I would say this is something I saw the last homestand. That's a bright spot for me. Let me give some hope for the future. I watched Luis Robert before and after the game run the stadium with Johnny Cueto. And I'm like, that might be well worth the year that Johnny Cueto was here. Because somebody needs to show him how to work.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure he's sitting there like, yo, this dude, Cueto is still
almost 40 years old, right?
Oh, he's doing this thing. Like, Johnny, what do you do? I work.
That's a pro's pro. And
I
like
put in work.
even though I don't even though my faith in Patrick Williams is dwindling, the fact that DeMar was like,
ass.
But the fact that DeMar was like, hey, look, you coming to LA for the summer, we gonna train. He brought him up to the Drew, had him out there in Compton. Like, that's that professional thing that, of course, we gotta wait and see if it works with Pat, and we gotta wait and see if it works with Luis. But that's the type of things, the locker room, that's about culture.
Yeah. Correct. And yeah, we say Jose Abreu is the heart and soul. That may be true, but kind of like you said, Shaun, he's not vocal. I would say, and you would think he would lead by example, but I kind of take it as like, he's like, I'm gonna put in the work. If you see me, you can see me, then do it, but I'm not gonna hold your hand. We're all professionals. Right. Where I feel like a comparison to that, like from a positional player standpoint, a Nelson Cruz, somebody like an Adrian Beltre, from a couple years ago, like guys like that are older for the Hispanic players that are still putting in work, but they're like, no, I'm gonna hold you accountable. You're gonna come with me, like the Johnny Cueto thing. Like, no, you're gonna come with me and you're gonna hit. Nelson Cruz is damn near like 44 years old. He's hitting. I think I read off a he's taking about 3,000 swings a day.
Albert Pujols to 60, and he had more home runs than everybody on the White Sox this year.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, and that's the type of accountability they need. And I mean, Liam Hendricks even said so this week. They need like an authority, like an authority figure to kind of manage them. But I think also within the clubhouse, there's no guy like that.
Yeah, I would say this too. My fault, Tate. Going back to what you said.
Yeah.
I'll give you asked the question, Mike, who has progressed? I think that series was the Minnesota series going into the All-Star break when they swept Minnesota up there.
Yeah,
they got to within one game.
Yeah,
because I think it was a 4-game series. I think they swept, and Luis got hurt the second game.
Yeah, the wrist.
But what he did, the first 2 games, that dude just dominated.
He was hooping.
And I was like, yo, if he's starting to believe that he's that dude, then he can carry us. And that's when I started to get some hope. Like, okay, if this is the guy, but then he got injured. Correct. And he never was right the rest of the season.
Correct. And Eloy flashed towards the end, but I don't know if that's him progressing or that's just him being him and he's healthy. Like that short span.
I think that's more him being healthy, honestly. Yeah. Like that's just like his first in 2019, he was raking. Like when the biggest thing for Eloy, and that's the one we can think about a positive thing. If this man can just stay healthy, and we're getting a roster construction, but I think that's your everyday DH.
Yeah,
Eloy Jimenez. I just want you to rake. That's all I need you to do. When he's healthy, he can hit the ball. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta look for small stuff. And that's the fucking thing about Chicago sports. You gotta look at the small stuff. I be looking at Justin Fields saying, like, well, at least this nigga looking down the field right for this one play. Like, we gotta do shit like that for Chicago sports. But those like the small bright things. But Dante, what did you?
I mean, like you said, more than anything, Dylan Cease becoming more than just a bum slayer. Actually, because one thing about Dylan this season, he pitched against some tough teams and he dominated. Like when they went up to the Bronx and that game he had in the Bronx, I'm like, okay, this is the Dylan Cease I thought we were getting. So, seeing that, and even with Michael Kopech, like to me, he really battled this season because me and Mikey called it way before they actually said that he was experiencing the issues. He was like, yo, like his velocity's down, like. He went from hitting 98, 99 that he was barely touching 95.
Yeah,
like,
we talking about
the first inning. Like this is like the first inning of the games. But to see him battle like that, because his temperament has always been, a worry for some people. Like, does he really want this? So that showed me like that's a guy that I could rock with. So like I got a lot more respect for Michael Kopech this year. So I would say Cease and Kopech are pretty much my 2 bright spots. Because for the most part, it was just so dark, bro. Like it was so much to complain about. But on a regular basis, those guys, they showed you the flashes that we thought everybody else was going to show us. Like they showed you, okay, these are people we can work with. Like that could be a solid 1-2 punch. Like I was done on Giolito probably after like his third start. I'm like, okay, no, he's back to the guy who can't focus, who's going in here, talking a good game. But when he gets on that mound, he's not executing like that.
Yeah.
And so for me, that would be my bright spot. It would be called Cease and Copic.
And with Giolito, I know my man Isaiah is listening to this. He's Cease's number one guy. So I'm gonna say this right now. I apologize. I was wrong about Lucas Giolito. You were right about Dylan Cease. So when he hears, I know he's gonna text me about that. But
Mike, once
go ahead.
Bright spot, a real small bright spot, and we talked about this, Scott. Remember they sent Gavin Sheets down?
Yeah.
He came
awful.
back.
And when he came back, you could tell he put in the work and was like, okay, I know I'm gonna have to be a guy to use this left side of the field if I'm going to be successful. And then he got in the groove. He couldn't hit a home run on the road, but when he was at home, he was dangerous. But
as you bring that up, Danny Mendick before he got hurt.
Yes.
He's playing good.
He's playing well. He's looking like one of your super utility guys.
He's looking like Lurie's replacement.
Yeah, I think Romy Gonzalez showed enough that you could probably move off Lurie. As not gonna play every single day, but like I thought that we saw a little bit there.
But that was the kind of the part that made me angry because that was towards like the end of the season where a lot of people were hurt. You got guys who, while it was good to see him, was guys who not in a regular lineup and they scrapping, they showing heart, they playing for Miguel Cairo, and this is like a perfect segue into our next point. It's just like it was just more energy. It's like I shouldn't see that from the bench guys over your so-called stars. And this is a quote that Shaun has been saying for like 2.5 years now. If your core ain't producing, it don't matter what else is going on. I'm about to talk about we need to add this, we need to add that. Like, well, if the core ain't doing it, it don't matter. Now, towards the end of the season, Tony La Russa had a health scare. You missed like pretty much all the last, month and a half, 2 months of the season. Yeah. Miguel Cairo comes in. The Sox go on like a run where they're like 13-2 and then 15. I think they even got it down to like a half game in the league. And you saw the difference of how important the manager is. And I'm not sitting up here saying Miguel Cairo should be the manager because he shouldn't. And that would be Pete White Sox if he was. But he's retiring due to health, which I think is part health and part Rick Hahn's like, he's not going to let me fire him. But let's just use this as a way to get up out of it. So I'm going to give the floor to Mikey first because you have a better idea of like candidates and stuff. Who would you like to see manage the team? You know what I'm saying? I know Rick Hahn said some stuff, but I'm starting to treat Rick Hahn press conference the same way I used to treat John Paxson.
I think
would you look for in a manager?
I think there was something though in his words for his press conference because he flat out said this search is going to be different from the other search. And I think if if like y'all know, if you read between the tea leaves, it's we're not going to let Jerry jump into this. Jerry going to have to sign off on it, but we're not going to allow him to pick it because if all things were equal, AJ Hinch would be the manager for this team right now because that's who Rick wanted. It was out there. It's been out there. Rosenthal passing wrote about it then. They wrote about it still now. That's who he wanted. I think from what he said, they want somebody that's making decisions now. Currently in this season, this weekend, in the weeks to come, on a major league club that's a winner. So I think you have to look at somebody that I wanted and I have vouched for before they hired TLL, Joe Espada, my Puerto Rican Boricua brother right there from the Astros. He's I think interviewed for almost like. I think he's on like some Eric Bieniemy shit where he's interviewed for the last few years, but hasn't gotten that. And
does he have a rap sheet in the background like Eric Bieniemy?
No, you know what it is though.
Niggas don't want to talk about that.
You know what it is? Is Crane from Houston, the owner, and the GM that they have right now. They're not really married together.
Okay.
I mean, nobody's really talking about it, but Dusty Baker's on his last year, and so is the GM, and they haven't re-signed him. So this may be a win or you're out scenario for Dusty, and they go ahead and maybe that's why I spotted him in. Yeah, I mean, because he, applied for the he interviewed for the Mets job. He interviewed. I think they were thinking about him for like the Yankees job if they would have moved on from Boone. So like his name is out there. I think it has to be somebody like that. Espada. I know Sandy Alomar would do it. I mean, he's not in the he's kind of in the White Sox family. They said that it doesn't have to be a prerequisite, but I think you're looking at a Joe Espada for the Astros. I forgot the name, but the white guy that I asked you about in Atlanta, I'd say there's somebody on the bench coach there that they're looking at. There's somebody from the Rays. I believe his last name is
Quatrero.
Yeah, Matt Quatrero, him. And then, I think you got to give Beltran a shot. I mean, that Mets job was Carlos Beltran.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? With that roster that they got, that was Carlos Beltran. So he's the only one to come out and flat out admit it and take the blame for out of the players, for that situation. And I think he's gonna get another shot. Why not interview him? But if you're gonna go forward with keeping some of the Latin, core based players, you got to get somebody that speaks the language and that can get in their ass and that they respect. That's not, 70 something years old. I know they got Bruce Bochy tied to us and stuff.
Look, man, all respect to Bruce Bochy. He's a legend. He had a dynasty out of San Francisco. I'm tired of old niggas, man. Like, I don't want it.
In respect to him, though, his last year was 2019. So it's not like he was 12, 13 years removed like Tony La Russa. He still knows what it is. He kind of went out with that Buster Posey. He went out with his guys. You know what I'm saying? His guys left, and he went out with they sent Bumgarner to the Diamondbacks. He kind of went out with his people. But yeah, I think it has to be somebody young that can bring in the analytics to the game, but also sees the game differently. Somebody it has to be somebody that's on the staff in these playoffs right now. Outside of that, if it's not that, then it has to be Beltran. Outside of that, I don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah, and I agree with that, especially the Carlos Beltran sentiment, because like you said, you need somebody that can really connect to these players. Like at the end of the day, like as much as we want to talk, they came in, flashing Tony's championship rings in our face, saying, "Well, he's a World Series manager. How can you not want that?" And it's like, well, if you can't connect with
Obama administration,
bro, like if you can't connect with the current generation, and like I know if you remember, like everybody talks about how he revolutionized bullpen use, but when he left St. Louis, like that was one of the big issues. Like he wasn't doing that at the same level that he was. So I think that Carlos Beltran is a great candidate. And like I know we say we don't want old people, and I agree with that. Like not like I say, we're not ageist, but at the end of the day, it's just not not ideal. But one guy I would look at is Ron Washington. Like when you look at every successful playoff team, their infield is on point. Like we can piece together an outfield, but your infield has to be on point. And when you look at the Braves infield, you got Riley at third, you got Dansby at short, you got Ozzie at second. When Ozzie went down, they called up Vaughn, and like I said, I would be at the game 3-4 hours before the game, and Ron is out there with Vaughn hitting them ground balls, like he's drilling them. And when one thing I would say, when Vaughn would mess up, Ron would get in his ass. It wouldn't be no, all right, let's just do it again. He was like, hey, you doing what I just told you not to do.
Ron
do that.
Ron is 3 years older than Bochy, but he's one of those I feel like lively. You know what I'm saying? Like he's like he don't look like he's 70. You know what I'm saying? I feel like he's somebody who he was the manager of the Rangers team that went to the World Series. Right.
And one thing, like I said, actually having a conversation with him, one thing he always talked about, and he told me this probably 3-4 times this season, he was like, the ball club takes the shape of their leader, and the manager is supposed to be the leader. Like, even if you're not an extremely vocal manager, he was like, when you in that clubhouse, like your guys are supposed to rally around you, and like you set the tone.
And I think that'll help too. Even
he would
with
do
like
that.
TA, I think he'd get a lot out of TA.
Man,
TA, stop throwing like you trying to be on Sports in the top 10.
Yeah, because like earlier this season when I interviewed Marcus Semien, that's what he said. He said Ron Washington changed the way I played defense. He was like, that's how I got better at defense. He said the Oakland A's brought in Ron, made him the infield coach. He said he would work with me every day, and like I've seen him out on the field with not only the new guys but the old guys, the guys that are still Gold Glove candidates. They're still out there with Ron putting in the work before the games. And we've talked about the White Sox, the lack of preparation. Like how you can't be that bad on defense and expect to win anything. Like flat out. I don't give a damn how good you hit the ball.
If they weren't middle of the road defense.
They were terrible. They were terrible. Like TA, like I'm saying, you got to bring in an infield specialist, or like you said, talk about moving bro to second base or the outfield. Like it's that bad, and like I know he's cut his errors, but like you said, the lack of consistency, the throwing errors, and you saw that across the board. I think Yohan still has the potential to be a very, very good third baseman.
Even with
But
Yohan,
he's
it's
just
like, bro,
too
like he
just
gotta do it, man. It's like, when are we gonna? I'm about to give him the Patrick Williams treatment. You know, he's showing more than Patrick Williams is obviously, but I need to see it consistently from Yohan. Like the only thing I can hang my hat on with Yohan is defensively, he's really, really good. Like I think he's probably a top 5, maybe defensive third baby, top 10 at the absolute worst.
He's top 10.
I say top 10.
You know, he's top 10. You know, I didn't know this until 2 days ago. I didn't know that the White Sox did not want Moncada in that trade.
I didn't know that either.
They wanted Rafael Devers. And Boston said, no, you get Moncada or there's no deal.
You'll get this Twinkie motherfucker right here.
I get it. And at that time, Moncada was the number 1 prospect in the game.
Yeah, he was on ESPN magazine, all that shit.
I didn't know that the White Sox didn't want him, which is interesting.
That makes you feel like, okay, whoever was scouting, that's a good scout.
They might have saw something. It could have been
Jets.
It could have been somebody might have saw something. And remember, he was third base. They had him play at second base. It didn't work. And they said that they had to put him at third base where he kind of played for the Cuban national team where he was coming up, because you have to keep him in the game. And we see that.
Yeah.
Sometimes, second base, I played second base, high school, college, everything. It gets a little boring. You got to keep somebody with his physical traits. You got to keep him at the hot corner. He has to be locked in on every pitch. If not, then it's easy for him to kind of, we've seen him loaf at third base even sometimes. Moncada's interesting, man. We're going to get into Moncada, man.
Yeah.
I think for the next manager, like pretty much, Junior said all the names that are out there. This is my thing. Even though they're giving the impression that this is going to be Rick Hahn's search.
I'm glad you said impression.
JR has veto power.
Let's just keep it a buck.
You mentioned Carlos Beltran. We know Jared Reinsdorf, man. Anything
he ain't folding.
Do and all that stuff, he ain't with it. That's why.
Right. So then at that point, then I think Joe Espada got there the year after the cheating scandal. Then you can say, okay, he's been with the Astros for consistent, and they still remain consistent. Then if that's your line of thinking, I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, man, I don't really have a name, in particular who I want. You know what I'm saying? It's just really about who's going to be the best fit for the team. I feel like I'm way more concerned about the roster more than I am the actual, coaching staff. And I think we lost Shaun for a minute. I'm waiting for him to come back in here. But it's just really like I just want a guy who can put this team in the right position. You know what I'm saying? Make sure they're prepared. Make sure defensively they're ready. Make sure that this team has accountability. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not just something where dudes is just going out there. I feel like there was zero accountability on this team. And just also like, I'm gonna say this too, like I need the White Sox to be focused, bro. Like, and I have no problem with millionaires being outside enjoying their life. But when you out here playing as bad as you playing, you shouldn't be out here in the club every night. You know what I'm saying? Like we see, Moncada be throwing house parties all the damn time. We see TA all out. Y'all need to be focused on the game, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like get more stuff. Like when I be joking, when I'm like, we need to keep 63rd chicks away from TA, but I be half-ass serious. Like, yo, just like and Shaun said it too. I think TA this year finally understood what it's like being a superstar in the city, and he ain't know how to handle it. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, he a Bama from Alabama, and he ain't know how to handle this city shit.
Bro, when we saw that man doing a photo shoot after the riots, after when they was losing, and he went down there and took like a whole photo shoot, I'm like, oh no, something's not clicking, bro. Like I get that, this is your first real full season as a superstar. The league really embraced him. They were trying to push him.
You got Dairy Queen commercials and shit.
Dairy Queen commercial with Bryce Harper. Like you were stepping into that threshold of of the elite, the guys who get the big money off the field.
But you know what Bryce Harper produces on the field.
I say he's an MVP multiple.
Yeah, he's an MVP multiple times.
I think though, with the new manager, you got to bring in a manager and you have to seriously ask him his input of this roster.
Yeah.
and his managerial style and the way he wants to play the game and go about the game nightly, who fits and who doesn't, So like, I think that's something important, and how you were saying, how you were saying, Scott, about it was accountability, right? Like play, there was no accountability for Tony because Tony was chilling in Arizona for 12 years. All it took was one phone call from his man to say, hey, you want this job? Like, yeah, I'll take a couple million, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So there was nothing. It didn't matter. If it failed, he's already in the Hall of Fame. He collected a check from his boy. His boy's still gonna be his boy, and he's gonna end up back in Arizona. He's the senior citizen John Paxson. You know what I'm saying? Like that was the golden parachute they gave him. So when you come in and you realize I could do good or I could fuck up and it has no effect on my legacy, really, because it really don't. We'll remember this they'll remember this in the same light of when Shaq was on the Celtics, Shaq was on the Cavs. Like, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh shit, I forgot he was there for 30 something.
Oh, he managed the White Sox again?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that falls in line with the White Sox culture that they have now. I was watching somebody's highlights. I forgot Manny Ramirez played for the White Sox. Like,
I was talking about my homie about that.
We had Griffey on the White Sox. Like, we get people at the tail end.
Kevin Euclid.
Right, shit to sell tickets.
You was on the White Sox,
bro. We could throw them on the side of US Cellular, whatever it is now. We'll throw them on the side of Comiskey. Like, hey, we got them here. Come buy some tickets. Like, that's what they do. Like, this is what they do.
And like you said, man, more important, I'm glad you said that, Junior, because if I'm Rick Hahn, I want to know your staff. Who's coming with you?
Yeah, because he said it's going to be up to the manager whether Ethan Katz stays, whether Frank stays. That could be some. I think they're gonna vote to keep Ethan. They'll try to vouch for him. That might be the politically correct way of saying Frank Menachino, you're gone. You know what I'm saying?
That motherfucker should have been gone a long time ago.
But the staff is important. You guys mentioned how important Ron Washington has been for playoff teams, which is ironic. Ron Washington lost that World Series to Tony La Russa, which is funny. But you talk about another name that's out there. I think Scott Merkin put it out there. Is the bench coach for the Braves, Walt Weiss, who has experience. Who is that tough, get in your face guy that was with those Oakland A championship teams. Like, he's the type of dude that will get in TA's face. He's the type of dude that will bring a developmental staff possibly from Atlanta because that's what they need. I think these young players didn't realize that they still needed to be developed and grown, and they thought they were already mature, and they found out this year, like, no, I'm not a grown man. It's almost like when you try to challenge your pops because you're 21, and then you get to experience that grown man strength, even though you're like, okay.
Yeah.
It's like, I always tell my mom
this year they weren't that.
I always tell my mom too. I'm like, Mom, we used to be in like the grocery store when we were kids. And I'm like, Mom, she would get like maybe like cereal or something that was like $2 cheap. I'm like, it's $2 fucking. Like when I'm a kid, when you get older, nigga, that $2 add up.
Right.
Right. He's like, no, I don't really need this.
You wasn't getting Captain Crunch. You was getting Kaboom.
You was getting pucks. Not for a fucking cornflakes.
Yeah. No, that's a great point, Shaun, because like you said, like being around the Braves and seeing Weiss, seeing Ron Washington, and shout out to EY, seeing Eric Young. Like, they have guys who even, like, he's like, when EY played, like, he played hard. He wasn't the best guy out there, but he bust his ass every day. And that helps that culture because, like I said, you see those guys, like, they bring in a Mike Harris. You bring in a rookie like Mike Harris. You bring in Vaughn Grissom, Spencer Strider. You bring in these guys, and you have the right people in their ears telling them, hey, this is how we do things here. This is how we don't. Like, even though, like, a lot of people didn't like the way Freddie was a leader because Freddie was just real old school, even him sitting down Acuna and saying, hey, we in Atlanta, we don't put our shades over the A. You don't block that because it's about Atlanta. It's about the team. You need somebody who's going to emphasize that culture and have these guys on point, because with the White Sox, you saw the talent, but then they were basically allowed to roam free, and then everything fell apart.
And this is the thing, like, and this goes into our next talk about Rick Hahn, and this is like a kind of a two-part thing for me. One, I'm with both of y'all. They deprive from organizations with culture. You know what I'm saying? Like, get some of these guys from Houston or Atlanta or Dodgers, any guys who have, consistent success or know what a winning locker room, know what a winning culture looks like, so they can bring here. But my number one fear is that if Rick Hahn has carte blanche, do what he wants, fine. This is your last shot. Go ahead and do it. This is your legacy. But it's like what Shaun said. I just don't believe a Jerry Reinsdorf led organization. And Jerry just sitting in the back and chilling. Like with the Bulls, it's different because I guess Michael's his son and he lets him do that because his family. It's not the same shit. And he always say how much he cares about the White Sox. My fear is that he's not gonna let Rick and Kenny actually do the job. Now, if Rick and Kenny actually do the job, I'm sure that they'll be like, okay, well, at least let's go out with a try. Let's get an actual guy in here. We named the Carlos Beltran. We named this guy from Houston. This is a guy, Jerry Reinsdorf, who didn't even want fucking the owner of the Mets to be approved. You know what I'm saying? Like, is he going to make dudes like him spend fucking money? So why would he's not going to care about an apology or how Beltran fessed up. In his mind, he's still a cheater. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be blocking your team off of that. So my many concerns as a White Sox fan is who the fuck is running the show? Who is actually up there making the decisions? Now, if Reinsdorf is just like, look, I'm just going to sign the checks. I'll let y'all go crazy. That's cool. Then I have a little faith in where this is going to go. But if it's just status quo, like I'm going to expect it to be until proven otherwise, we just going to be doing the same shit here a year from now.
Well, Rick Hahn said, you can't just, the exact quote was something like, you can't just we're not going to be able to throw money
at problems, yeah.
Oh, okay, so that right there tells you his hands are tied already. Hands are tied already. And looking at the payroll, with the projected payroll for what this year will be, you looking at like $170 million if AJ Pollock opts into his $13 million player option. And if he doesn't, it's like 167. So realistically, they are going to have to get freaky in the trade market and have to make some tough decisions because $170 million, if this was the highest payroll Jerry had, next year is going to be the same thing with the same players. He's not going to offer up any more bread. So that, that was something that stuck out to me. I'm almost to the point where I'm kind of scared because it looks like it's going to be the same shit for the most part, maybe just with a new voice and piecemeal, like maybe 2-3 new players. I don't know, man. I'm a little frightened by it, and I mean, obviously, you don't wish death on nobody, whatever. But
but the nigga has time and should have been expired a while ago. I say
it's like he got the hourglass and somebody just keep flipping it. Somebody just keep flipping it. But I think realistically, off how you said, Scott, Michael with the Bulls and he gave him that position. I think when Jerry transitions, this team will be up for sale immediately.
And they're gonna go for a lot.
Right. I don't think anybody in the family has the desire to work with this. So it might be just one of those things where we might just have to wait for that next owner and see what they do, because we know with this guy, Jerry's not gonna spend.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like they said we can't throw money at problems. I just pulled up the top 10 payrolls in baseball, and 7 of them are in the playoffs. The only three that aren't there are the White Sox, the Red Sox, and the Angels. Everybody else who actually spends money,
that's off 3 players. The Angels just got that off just Rendon, Trout, and Shohei.
On Ohtani. Yeah, but like you said,
one of them got the next 4 days off.
They're legit showing you, bro.
Man, right now.
And they legit showing you, like, no, you do throw your money at problems. Like if there's one sport where you throw money at problems, it's baseball. You don't have pitching
with no salary cap.
Thank you. You don't have pitching, you go get pitching. You don't have certain position players, you go pay for one. Like that's why look at the Phillies payroll is $168 million this year. They went out and got Schwarber. You got Castellanos. Like you adding players that are going to help your ball club. So this idea that we don't have to spend money, when it's like, first of all, you don't develop players like the Braves, and second of all, the Braves have the 12th highest payroll, so they're still spending money. So like if you don't develop players well, you have to spend money. So
I'm just going to say this
leading with that, I can't do it, bro.
I was going to say before we get to Shaun, this is one thing the White Sox fans to watch for in the playoffs. Outside of the fact of them being our division rival, you do not want the fucking Guardians to make a deep run, because then Jerry's going to see they didn't spend no fucking money. And it's going to be one of them things. I need them to be one and done.
But it's counterproductive. You can say, yeah, they didn't spend no money and they let Lindor go. But you know what? They traded well. They're a pitching fucking factory. So they
Francona.
always draft well, develop well, and those arms come up the system. And then when it's time for somebody to get paid, they flip them and they got more. But they're the youngest team in baseball. And look at what they're doing with only one superstar in Jose Ramirez. And then, Shane Bieber. And Shane Bieber is kind of taking a step. He's not the Shane Bieber that we
He's
saw.
not the Shane Bieber of old. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like Dante said, if you don't draft well and develop well, and then if you're missing, on some of you, the guys that you got now, you absolutely have to spend, or you have to trade, and you got to trade maybe about 4 or 5 people to shake it all up.
Yeah.
Like goes back to what Junior said when he brought up that the White Sox wanted Devers instead of Moncada. Like at least that shows you that somebody in the organization knew you build a team by getting an ace. You have to get an ace, and then you have to go and get a power hitting third baseman. Like we don't want the fast second baseman. Give us the power hitting third baseman and give us an ace of Michael Kopech. They weren't able to pull it off. But development 101. This will let you know that the White Sox don't know what the hell they're doing. You put players in the best position for them to be successful. Asking Andrew Vaughn, asking Gavin Sheets to play foreign positions while they're trying to acclimate themselves to them. Do you know how hard it is
to just be a regular baseball
player?
player,
And learn the game.
It's asking Justin Fields to go play quarterback with 5th round talent and a bunch of sicko employees at wide receiver.
Mariano's baggers.
Facts. And this is how you introduce me to the major leagues. This is what you do to me. This is what you think about me. That's the type of organization you have when it comes to development. That's how they view development. And you have kids. It's not like I feel sorry for Sheets. I feel sorry for Vaughn. I feel sorry for Berger because I actually think they're decent players. I think Berger would be a really good backup third baseman for somebody. Really good. I think Gavin Sheets would be a perfect backup first baseman / DH for somebody. But when you got these kids up here playing every day, playing out of position, doing certain, it's like, man, what are we doing? That's why I know what Han is banking on. He's banking on Oscar Colas to hit the roster in May.
And that's the shit that pisses me off.
He's banking on that. He's banking, and no, by all means, from what we've seen, he could be a beast.
Yeah.
And he's a true outfielder.
He will be the right field. He will be the starting right fielder, I think, next year.
On opening day, you think Oscar Colas will be starting?
If not opening day, it'll be like May.
If not opening day, it'll be like the Eloy shit where they brought him up in like June. But I think so. I mean, it depends on who you go and get. You need a left-handed bat. Are you going to pay for?
You need more than one. That's the thing, and that's the. Let's just get right into the offseason. I got a question for all three of y'all before we get there. Who, if you can only pick 4 players, who will be the current core of the team? These are 4 you keep going into next season, and you're like, I'm building around this 4. Who would those 4 be? In positional pitching, whatever. For me, my 4 is Dylan Cease. It's Luis Robert. I would say it would have to be. That's tough because I feel like all these motherfuckers can go. I still got faith in Andrew Vaughn. I still got faith in Andrew Vaughn, and he's not untradeable. I would trade him for the right price. I would put him. And 4th is a guy we ain't seen yet, Oscar Colas. Like honestly, that's probably the 4. Because Kopech, I don't know yet because I got to see him. Is he ever going to be healthy?
Yeah, you said 3 out of my 4. I said, Cease, Robert, Cease, Robert, Colas, and it's crazy. I've my feelings about T have changed so much.
Yeah, it's right. I didn't even think of him when I.
He didn't even cross my mind at all when I was sitting here running it through my head. But honestly, like I said, because he battled so much this season, and even like I said, even when he was hurt, he was still effective. We just didn't give him a lot of run support. We had a lot of errors. So my 4th probably will be Kopech. So I got those 2 pitchers, my center fielder, and center fielder and the right field. I know like you said, we need a third baseman. You need those certain positions you have to have. But I'll go with another guy we haven't seen, Colson Montgomery. Like,
Yep.
I think that's a guy, like, unless you can get something really like a current, everyday, extremely solid major league player, I want to see what I can do with that, because he's another guy who's started to develop and really show you flashes of somebody who could be a really good big leaguer. So I would say those four. I would say the two in the minor leagues, and then those two guys right there.
And that's why I go back to like how important the staff is going to be with the next manager, because Colas, his background, like when he hits the major leagues, he has international experience. He's going to acclimate a little bit faster. When Colson Montgomery gets up here, he's going to need somebody on that staff like Dansby Swanson had with Weiss. And now you see what Dansby Swanson has turned into. Like, this dude is almost driving in 100, hitting 25 home runs when this dude can barely hit 240.
Yeah.
So you need somebody on the staff that's going to be able to not only, when he gets here, to help him to continue to develop and become the player, that left-handed bat, that left-handed power bat that we expect him to be on the infield. I'll go Luis, Colas, Cease. And I'm with you, Tay. I still believe in Kopech. I do. I still believe in Kopech. And this is the crazy thing. Scott, I told you this. I forget when I told you, but I was like, yo, this is a huge injury.
You did say that.
When Garrett Crochet got injured, I was like,
really everybody but me.
Everybody but you.
I'm like, dude, this is huge.
I was like, fuck him. I don't give a fuck about the injury. And then all y'all was like, nah.
Because I think that injury caused the panic that led to Joe Kelly, that led to Graveman. Because if you have Crochet, even though Kopech goes to the starting rotation, you're like, okay, I got Crochet, I got Bummer, I got Hendricks. Maybe I add.
And this was supposed to be a transition year, a swing year where he gets his arm, and you look at a starting next year.
The starting next year, yeah.
If a Giolito were to flop, where he wants a contract, you can go ahead and move him, and we're gonna slide into Young Buck. But I would say Cease 100%, because you always need frontline pitching, and if he could put another year similar to what he did this year, then you got your number one. I would say Michael Kopech still, because I believe in him, and he battled, man. He pitched his ass off. That start against the Yankees right there, that's what you want to see. That was prime time baseball, and he was fucking dominating. And he had a few games this year where 5th, 6th inning, he's flirting with that no. You know what I'm saying? So I think we saw a lot then out of him when he wasn't 99 consistently, 98 consistently. We saw him pitch. He was able to get some ground balls. He was able to work out of some jams. You know what I'm saying? So we saw him pitch. We saw the development we wanted to see in Michael Kopech this year. So I'm going to go Kopech, Cease. I'm still on Luis Robert. But you got to tell me, if you're not going to spend money and you're not developing, well, then all hands might be on deck if you're trying to retool. And
I want to be very clear. Who's going to nobody on this team outside Dylan Cease that I'm like, not willing to part with.
Even a Colson Montgomery, like, it all depends what they're trying to do. We don't know what
we don't know what their game plan is.
We don't know what their game plan is, because we thought we knew with the years leading up to this, and clearly they botched it. So I would say Kopech, Cease, Eloy for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll throw Luis Robert in there, but obviously I'm willing to listen on anybody. But those four right there, Cease, I'm not willing to listen on. But I think Eloy, like Scott said, that's the everyday DH. When healthy, he might not get you 40 home runs, but he's a 30 home run hitter. He could drive the ball to all fields, and you know what I'm saying. He can hit for average. He can hit for power. Definitely power. This is a team that is lacking power. So you can't just go ahead and move off of your one premier bat that brings that power. I don't give a fuck what they say about Andrew Vaughn. Andrew Vaughn has never been projected to be a 30 home run hitter, a 40 home run hitter. That is not in his MO. That is not in his scouting report. So those four, what I be with, the two pitchers, and then the two, the DH and the center fielder.
Yeah. I'm with y'all. So let's talk about like who like is it? Let's talk about Jose Abreu. Do you bring him back? One 2-part question. Do you bring him back? Do you think he's gonna be back? For me, I love Pito. My favorite White Sox ever. I want him to go to a team where he can win a championship. Just let him walk. And you put Vaughn at first base or whoever the hell y'all got planning on, whether you trade Vaughn, you get another first baseman, that's got to be somebody else's spot. You make Eloy your full-time DH. And as far as like who stays, who comes, there's not one player outside of a Dylan Cease that I am attached to heading into this offseason. Like, I think there's going to be my prediction. I think at least 2 regular everyday lineup guys get traded. I truly believe that's going to happen. Now the question is, are these good trades? Are we getting good players back? That is, I feel like this offseason, I think last year the question was, are they gonna add on? Are they not? Are they gonna be content? This time's like, are they gonna be like, hey nigga, we tried and they gonna fold? Or they gonna be like, okay, we fucked up. This is still a fixable mess. Let's go out here and fix this. So
to that point,
what do y'all think about Abreu?
Well, to that point, then just who would you move?
Who would I move?
Who would you move if you had to pick 2? Who would you move? We'll get into the Abreu talk, but who would you? If you had to move 2, right? Say you got to move 2, and then you're saying are they good trades? Realistically, the only motherfuckers with value that will be a good trade is an Andrew Vaughn and Luis Robert out of your starting people, because you're not gonna get a good ROI on Moncada. He had his fucking worst year as a pro this year. You're not getting it on Grandal. Eloy, maybe, but you know what I'm saying? You're better off keeping him, letting him get healthy, letting him be a full-time DH. Pollock is what we call him muerto. He's a dead body out there, so that's nothing.
I got my 2. I moved Tim Anderson. He is the one that to me has the most value because of his production. And I feel like he's still respected enough around the league where you can get a respectable offer. And a lot of these other franchises might look at he was just hurt this year. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they'll just be like, you can still get a good package from him. He's on the team control for 2 more years. I love TA, man, but I would trade Tim Anderson. And my second one, I would trade Andrew Vaughn and I would listen to Luis Robert offers. Not saying I would take those offers, but if you can get you a big ransom deal for Luis Robert, I'm all in. This team needs help in multiple positions, but if I could only pick 2, it would be TA and it would be Andrew Vaughn.
Yeah. I think, with this team's track record and how bad they've been at, assessing talent, I don't think there's too many teams in this league that are looking to give them a ransom deal. That they're going to try to screw them over. They're like, well, this is the White Sox. Let's see, how can we finesse this to take one of these guys away from them? And so, like, as far as the 2, I feel like they've been trying to trade Shaun for damn near 2 years. Like, it's a lot of people in this franchise that want to see Jake Berger as a starting third base. They don't want Shaun on the squad.
There's a lot of people in the stands who want to see him. Yeah,
especially in the fan base. He's one of those blue collar guys. So like that's a trade that most people will welcome.
That's what it is.
White.
Bingo, right. So
and Vaughn. No wonder they be so angry over him. He's white.
Somebody was like, I think I told Scott earlier this. I said Vaughn, like he just did a double at the Ford plant. Like he just looks like one of those scruffy guys. Like until they love him. And he's 25. He looks 40. But I think as far as the trades, I said this because I'm a firm believer the White Sox aren't going to pay him even if he bounces back. I would trade TA as well. That's the most you can get for anybody on this roster outside of a Robert. So I would look at this offseason if it's truly a thing where we're like, you know what? Let's be not truly a thing. It is a thing. Let's be realistic. That window is closed. Like this is not the team they thought it was. This is not the group of players that's going to deliver a championship. So if I need to retool as much as I can with this terrible farm system I have, I will move TA. I'll move off TA. Back to your original question, Scott. I don't want to see Jose walk, but it's one of those situations where at this point now he's taking up a spot for a guy that we might need to really develop. Like if Andrew Vaughn is somebody you're building around, you can't stick him in the outfield for another season. You just can't do that. Like it's doing too much. So I think I would want him to stay, but I think Pito he's gonna walk.
Man, this is all connected because I think the hiring of the next manager is going to happen quicker than most people think. Because I think one of the questions asked in the interview process will be, would you like Jose Abreu on this team? Like, you have to give that guy coming in, like, if I'm a manager interviewing, I'm asking the question, like, yo, is Jose Abreu going to be here? Like, I need to know, do I have a guy that I can depend on in the locker room to be some type of leader? Or if I have to go into a locker room that's going to be a totally different makeup, I would ask that question if I'm doing my due diligence as a manager that's being interviewed. But to go back to what you said, you got Turner, Bogarts, and Swanson coming out as free agents.
And Correa.
Right? So, and
Correa.
Correa.
Correa for
right?
sure leaving.
All of those guys are probably going to get big money. Can you find a team that's not willing to spend, but is willing to trade to get a Tim Anderson? Because the shortstop market is going to be hot, right? I'm just throwing this as fantasy. Because it definitely has like a 10% chance of happening. Trey Turner goes to the Cubs, right? Because the Dodgers are like, dude, we're not giving you all that money. We gave Mookie money, gave Betts money. We might be letting Turner go at third, moving on from him. Dude, let's see if we can go ahead and get Tim Anderson's contract, which is team friendly, for another few years. Okay, cool. I'll take some prospects from the Dodgers farm system.
Yeah.
For Tim Anderson, for sure. If you want to throw in
Gavin Lux, I'll take a Gavin Lux.
Heck yeah, that's good.
Nice.
That's perfect. Give me a Gavin Lux, TA, and maybe one of your best arms in AAA, which I trust in their farm system. Let's rock and roll. Then, if we get a Walt Weiss is going to say, hey, Dansby,
Come get this bag.
Come get this bag. So now you got Dansby, Gavin Lux is second. Now we rolling. If you keep Abreu, that means you're moving off Vaughn, right? Because like Junior said, if you're keeping Eloy, that signals the end of Abreu, in my opinion. Because if you're moving on from Abreu, you have to keep Eloy's bat in the middle of that lineup.
Yeah,
you have to.
100%. 100%.
And so I would be cool. I mean, if you're telling me I'm gonna start opening day with Lux, Swanson, Vaughn, and Moncada,
I'm with it.
I'm okay.
Yeah, I can work with him.
Yeah, I'm letting Jose Abreu walk. Thank you for your service. You will always be welcome on 35th.
You'll get a statue, probably.
You'll get a statue. You'll get a bobblehead. Everybody will come out and get the little rubber band and your fucking chin hair. You know, you'll have a fan appreciation day. But I think we saw it this year. What he had? 15 home runs. The power's declining.
Power shot.
Yeah, the hits are there, but the power's declining.
Yeah.
I got a list right here. You got Abreu who play first base or could DH. You got Gavin Sheets who could play first base or DH. I never want to see him in the fucking outfield again. You got Andrew Vaughn who could play first base or DH. I never want to see him in the outfield again. You got Yasmani Grandal, who is not going to be. He's being owed $18 million this season coming up. They are not taking an $18 million loss.
100%.
A good team will get whatever the fuck they can for him and cut their loss. It's a sunk cost. It is what it is. He was a terrible fucking signing that didn't work out. But he could play first base or DH if he's not catching.
You call it Grandal signing terrible?
Terrible.
I don't know if I can do that. Y'all calling it terrible?
It's terrible.
It was terrible. What was he brought in to do? He was brought in to be a framer, a defensive catcher. He can never fucking catch the ball when it hits his fucking glove. He doesn't throw anybody out. His bat didn't fucking transfer. He hit he was good for an occasional fucking moonshot every 2 weeks, every week and a half. Injured. It was a terrible fucking signing, and it sucks that when the White Sox, who barely spend, have these terrible fucking signings, and it just so happens he's the most expensive player, it only gives Jerry more ammo to be like, see
what happens when I spend money.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you have to let Abreu go. Hey, good luck in Houston, Papa. You're going to be amazing in the Astros uniform. That's 100% where he's going to go. They'll let Trey Mancini walk. They go ahead and get him. He could spot play first base DH. He's perfect down there. He's perfect for that culture. He deserves a chance to play meaningful baseball with an organization that matches his effort and work ethic every day for a season. He's been amazing ever since he came up.
Yeah.
Ever since he came over, to play for the White Sox. He's got to go long term because this is now a retool. I'm going to consider it a little rebuild because it didn't work with the core. If you're going to have to trade some people,
you want to call it a rebuild or a retool? I think it's probably more of a retool. Because to me, if you rebuilding, you're getting rid of everybody.
It depends who gets traded.
Yeah.
It depends. If you move
Well, here's a question for y'all then. Here's a better question. What trade would have to happen or trades would have to happen for you to be like, oh, shit, they rebuilding. They saying, fuck this shit.
They trade Luis.
Luis?
I think you trade Luis and let me know that you don't have any faith in this core at all.
Okay.
Which I mean, at this point, I can't be honest.
I can't argue. Yeah.
We not only that, you saying like it might be called a retool. Like, what the fuck are we retooling? Like, we might need to tear it down. Like, seriously, like, what are we retooling?
You might have to. You got guys that don't play well together, that don't fit. It's not like I said. These guys don't play good baseball together. They're not baseball players. So we ain't got one guy that plays like a Chris Taylor in LA. You know what I'm saying?
That's a damn shame.
We don't got a guy like that. Like, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I need a couple scrappy white boys mixed in now because my fucking primos out here letting me down. I need somebody like a Gorman in St. Louis or a Donovan. You know what I'm saying? So I think realistically, it depends. If you trade Tim Anderson, and I agree with you, Scott. I got the same two people. TA and Vaughn are the ones that you can trade now
and still win.
And still be somewhat competitive because they're gonna get you something back, and then little free agency signing, and it extends your window. The next year you let Moncada go because they're not gonna be able to get nothing for him. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'll keep some pillars in place for the next group. So Abreu, I think they pretty much said it this week. The White Sox Twitter was thanking him.
Abreu said himself. Remember last year he was like, "I signed myself to come back." Now he's like,
this year. Yeah, he knows what it is. I think at this point he realizes they never approached him all year. He didn't have the best of years. He hits wise, he was up there top 5 in the AL, top 5 in Major.
Well, he's usually a walking 30 and 100.
Yours gave you 15 home runs. He's what is he in real shit? Like, what is he, like 38 years old, 36 years old?
He's at least 37.
He's at least 37. That's in US age. And in Cuban age, the motherfucker at least 48. So it is what it is. And so you have to make that determination. If Andrew Vaughn is who you think he is and who y'all prop him up to be, Andrew Vaughn is the White Sox fucking version of Patrick Williams.
It really is. It really is.
So, if you ready for him, then all right, throw him at first base, and you're gonna have to make some moves around them. They still ain't solved second base. They still ain't solved outfield. You gotta get two corner outfield spots because
you need 2 starters, man.
You
need 2 starters, dog.
I'm not. You know what? I'm not really worried with their rotation. I think Lucas Giolito is going to get moved. I'm gonna put that on there now.
Okay.
I think Lucas Giolito is going to get moved, so they probably will. Maybe they circle back to Carlos Rodon. He's going to be a free agent. Maybe they do.
Oh, he gonna come to Chicago, the North Side. Well, he gonna
We forgot one that Junior threw out earlier, dude, which is actually Liam Hendricks is a really good candidate to get moved
for a trade.
He's getting paid. He's getting paid like $14 million next year. Yeah. If they bring him back, that's cool. Like, say they bring him back. Say they bring him back, he'll be gone by the summertime.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And he'll be cool there. But you got to move off some of the bullpen pieces because you got to kind of fix the bullpen too. Joe Kelly was ass. Diekman was ass, but I mean Diekman's on the roster for next year. I think his
he is
already picked up. So you're gonna have to reshape it. I think Giolito goes and Abreu has to go. He has to go because if not, then you better get a very good haul for Andrew Vaughn, and you better move somebody else because you're gonna side with a 36-year-old first baseman whose power is declining. You better get a haul then for Vaughn.
Yeah, and White Sox fan base, the White Sox fan base is gonna lose it.
Oh, they are.
Just first
Dumbass
of
fan
all,
base. Yeah.
Jose leaving. And
Oh,
if he leaves, I'm telling you where he's going. He's going to the Padres. You can bank it.
Ooh,
You
I
can
can
bank
see.
it. Josh Bell is a free agent at first base. He's going to the Padres.
I think
You can
Houston
bank
or the
it.
Padres. It really
You can bank
depends
it.
on where he wants to go.
I think you're right. I think he going to the upper echelon. Houston,
Yes.
Padres, if the Dodgers got a spot, and
Yeah.
if like the Braves got a spot, something like that. You know, they keep saying Miami, and that's just I feel like first off, that's racist. I feel like that's racist. You know what I'm saying? Why you saying Miami? Like I be seeing they be having all the Latinos. They got Rafael Devers getting traded to Miami. Like get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
But I think the Padres. You know what, man? I didn't think about that. I thought
Padres would be perfect.
It would be perfect.
Yeah,
it'd be perfect.
Well, was there anything else White Sox before we get into like wild card? Shaun, do you have time to go over the wild card with us just real quick for a little bit?
Yeah, we're
so
good.
Dante, do you have anything before we?
Only thing I while we were talking, I started scrolling the list of free agents. And, you know, a lot of the outside of the shortstop market, a lot of the top. Yeah, a lot of the top free agents have player options, and they probably gonna opt in.
A lot of mid on him,
like Arenado and guys like that. Watch the White Sox fuck around and sign Joey Gallo and sell us on the fact like, well, yeah, you know, you saw the second half of the season when he went to the Dodgers, he was playing well.
You pissed me off because that can actually happen. That's why I'm mad.
You know what contract is already signed. You know we about to get Michael Conforto after a year of it's already the ink is already dry. Boris already got
man. It's gonna be something terrible.
Yep.
Well, if you're a White Sox fan, listen to this here depressed. Well, hey man, we just giving y'all the real of what the situation is. We want to. That's my new shit with Chicago Sportsman, telling y'all how it is. Like, you know, it is what it is, man. But let's get to some teams just a little bit. You know, spend about 10-15 minutes on this real quick about, you know, the actual playoffs. Now, me, Mikey, Dante, and Pierce will be doing a weekly MLB playoff recap show for y'all. So we're gonna do the wild cards today, and on Monday, all four of us are gonna record a DS preview pod. So we're gonna have y'all with y'all October coverage, man. So let's get into the bracket. So of course, in the NL, we have the Dodgers and the Braves. They get the first 1 and 2 seeds. They get a first round bye there all till Tuesday. In the AL, it is the Astros and the Yankees. They're all till Tuesday. So we have Cleveland and Tampa, which will be the first game tomorrow. It'll be 9:07 in the morning here in Los Angeles. I will not. I don't know. I'm probably not gonna see that game to the fifth inning, but it'd be Shane McClanahan versus Shane Bieber. The winner of this series will head to New York to play the Yankees. And in the other AL City series is Toronto hosting the Seattle Mariners. Shout out to the Mariners, their whole fan base. The first time they're making the playoffs since 2001, longest American playoff drought. And that winner of that will face the winner of the face the Astros. Now, of course, this is the first real wild card setup. So all three games will be decided this weekend. Of course, the first winner of the two, just like any other series, all three will be played on the home field of the team with the higher seed. And the National League, you got the St. Louis Cardinals. They're going to be hosting the Philadelphia Phillies. And then I think it's going to be the series of the first round. The Mets will be hosting this series against the San Diego Padres, man. So let's talk about Cleveland and Tampa, man. This is, Mikey, I'm going to give you the floor first because you called it about Cleveland coming in. They're coming to this with a lot of momentum. Who do you favor in this series and how many games?
I favor Cleveland in this series, and I got it going to full 3 games. I just like I like what they're going to throw out there. It's probably going to be Shane Bieber game 1. You're looking at
Bieber versus McCallahan right now.
Right, and you're looking at and McCallahan's coming off of a bit of a shoulder injury that he was dealing with in August. He missed about a week. He came back, then he was dealing with like a blister thing on his hand. So then he missed some time there, came back. He hasn't really been sharp yet in his I think his last 2 starts since he's been back. But I like Bieber. The thing with these teams is the Guardians don't strike out a lot. The Rays do. The Rays were a team that frequently that I bet against this year when there was top line pitching going against them. So I think they have the Guardians have the advantage of throwing out a Shane Bieber, probably getting about 6-7 innings, keeping it controlled. These offenses really don't score much.
Yeah, it's gonna be a low scoring joint.
It's going to be a low score. And then, when you could throw out a Tristan McKenzie who can at any point light you up for double digit Ks. I just think the Cleveland Guardians have played a lot of close games this season in which they won late. So they know how to stay in it and persevere in the late innings, in the 7, 8, 9 innings. So I'm going with Cleveland winning this 2-1.
Yeah, I agree with Mikey. I think, we talk about the playoffs and teams coming in hot, but like that pitching is key. Like now, I do think this may hinder them in the second round when you got to go up against the Yankees, and you've already spent some of your top arms.
And that's why the fucked up part about being in the wild card.
That's
why the Mets screwed themselves.
Yeah, that's why I'm really concerned about the Mets. But
yeah, Mets
just to stand on topic, I think Cleveland actually I got Cleveland 2-0. I think like their pitching is that good because I think Bieber's gonna come out and throw a game, and I think if Tristan goes game 2, like this is a kid because like working with MLB Bro, we cover all the black players. This is a kid who he's showing you flashes all season that he has ace stuff. Like
he got black ace. He got black ace stuff.
It's kind of like the stuff with Dylan last year where we saw the flashes, but it was always okay. His control. Like Tristan had the same issues. It was his control, and this year we've really seen him dialed in. So I think between that, the Naylor brothers, they brought Bo up to be their third catcher. So I think this is a squad that they're gonna go and jump out on Tampa Bay. I think they're gonna go 2-0.
I'm with you on that one, Dante. I think it's gonna be a quick series. I think they're gonna win Friday and Saturday, just because this isn't the Rays team that we used to knowing. They're not as good offensively. Even McClanahan, like you say, he's coming off the shoulder. He's had some ups and downs. This isn't a stack rotation whatsoever. And they're at home. We know how Cleveland plays at home. They got some voodoo up in, I'm gonna call it the old one, Jacobs Field. I don't know what the hell it's called anymore, but they got some voodoo up in there. Yeah, progressive. And it's gonna be a lot of momentum. And them being at home, I think I favor the home teams a lot in these series because they're gonna have all three at the crib. So I think I'm gonna go. I favor the pitching. You get Bieber in game 1, McKenzie in game 2. They got a really good bullpen, and they don't quit. They don't give up on at bats, and that's the most annoying thing about playing the Guardians. They don't let up, and there's gonna be a time where even if McClanahan is pitching his ass off, where you're gonna have a blue single by like Rosario or some shit. And then, somebody else get on. Boom, 3-run home run by fucking J-Ram. And then Clase come in the 9th. God bless and good night. So I'm going to go with the Guardians in 2. I think they're going to be done by Sunday.
Yeah, you definitely have to go with the Cleveland pitching in the first 2 games. But it's going to be interesting to see how McClanahan and Glasnow coming back off injury, how they perform.
About Glasnow. And then
game 2.
Game 3, you probably could throw a Drew Rasmussen. Yeah,
absolutely.
Forgot about Glasnow.
Yeah. And the key, like you guys have talked about, like after this from the 7th inning on, how good Cleveland has been all season long. They are the home team. So that first game to me is the most
very pivotal. Yeah.
If Tampa steals that first game, now you put pressure on Cleveland. And don't forget, Tampa Bay has one of the best bullpens. Fairbanks and the crew, they can shut you down.
And so they don't care about bringing them motherfuckers in early either. We all know.
So now you're really asking Glasnow and McClanahan to give you 5. The way the Rays operate, like just give us 5. We'll depend on this bullpen. And if they do their job, they can make it difficult and maybe take it to 3. But I still think Cleveland, I just think Ramirez is like, he's built for October. Yeah. That's just 100%. The type of dude he is.
He's an October guy.
October. So I think he comes through with, a couple of big hits in this series.
I think, too, also one thing for Bieber, like you saying, Mike, earlier in the show, he's not the Bieber of old, but also Bieber's one playoff appearance, he got rocked by the Yankees. Like, they rocked his ass. Now, obviously, the Rays ain't the Yankees, but you can put some pressure on Bieber. The White Sox put a couple runs on Bieber's head early in one of these early games. So, and it's October, though. Everything we talking about can go out the window in the second inning, which is why I love the postseason. So, let's get to the other AL series. I think this is going to be super fun. Blue Jays, Seattle. Yeah. This is the future of the American League right here. Toronto was hyped up as a team that could win a division. Now, they didn't win a division, but I still think they played pretty fucking well this season. That Toronto crowd, we talk about crowds, like you said, Shaun, that Toronto crowd finna be gassed. Remember them Jose Bautista days, man. That crowd know how to get down. You know what I'm saying? Ain't gonna be no COVID restrictions, so everybody can play. In Seattle, they're a fun team. You know what I'm saying? The game 1 matchup is Manoah versus Castillo. I favor the Blue Jays here because Manoah's a dog, especially at the crib. Manoah's like unhittable at the crib. And Castillo, he's good, but I feel like he's been struggling since he got to Seattle. Julio Rodriguez, I'm pretty sure he's playing, but even if he's playing, he's young. It's his first postseason. He's coming off injury. I think that them just making the playoffs is good enough for them. I do think it's going to go to 4-3 games, but I'm going to go with the home team. I'm going to go with the Blue Jays.
I gotta agree with that. Like you said, you have a team like a lot of times when a team doesn't meet the preseason expectations, we kind of write them off immediately. But like you said, when you look at this team playing in that tough ass division and still managing to make the playoffs, I think you still look at the talent they have on offense. Seattle is a great story, so they're breaking the playoff drought. But at the end of the day, like Seattle's really gonna have to rely on their pitching. Like their pitching's they're gonna throw like some great games. Like they got to go deep in the games, really do their thing. But I'm gonna go Toronto in 3.
Shit, man. I'm gonna have to update my Twitter because I've been doing some like the research and reading into it, and it's interesting because it's 3-game series now.
Yeah.
I like the Mariners, man. I know it's in Toronto though, and what's key is Toronto dropped that vaccination rule, so Robbie Ray will be able to pitch.
Canada in general dropped it.
Right. So Robbie Ray will be able to pitch game 2. So you got Manoah, Jose Barrios, and then probably Stripling going if it goes 3, and then you got Castillo, Robbie Ray, and then Logan Gilbert. I like that 3 on the Mariners side more. Alek Manoah, I'm a huge fan. I think this is going to be a high-scoring series.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah,
I think surprisingly, it's going to be a high-scoring series. The Mariners.
This is the series for the casual fan.
This is for the casual fan. There's going to be some big home runs in this series. I think I'm going to lean with the Mariners, man. I think I'm going to lean with the Mariners. I think they have one more push in them, man. One more little magical season. Think about the playoffs is we look at it right in front of us. There's going to be some upsets.
It's going to be so much shit we ain't see happen.
There's going to be some upsets. I've already switched on my Padres Mets pick. I'm going Padres. We'll get into that, but there's going to be some upsets.
You know what? This is a series that's very interesting to me, man, because one, I like Seattle, like you said, Junior, and Castillo, Ray, and Gilbert. That's some heat, bro.
Yeah.
You bring in George Kirby. You could bring in George Kirby in the game 3 and the 4th or the 5th if you got that's another starter. Like
and then if Toronto has to go to Barrios in a game 3, like which Barrios are you getting? Like Toronto better take care of business.
Yeah,
they better 1-2.
So the pressure's on Toronto.
Yeah,
it's all on them. You know what? Toronto is this year's Chicago White Sox.
100%
from last year.
Yeah.
This is what they are. And like you said, Scott, the Mariners. I don't think the Mariners are just happy to be there. I think they're willing to. They're playing with house money this year.
Yeah,
they're gonna go ahead and I think they're gonna try to upset some people. They've been playing some good ball. It seems like the only time they lose is when they're playing the fucking Oakland A's. Go figure. Yeah, I 100% agree with you, Shaun. This is Toronto has to take care of business 1-2. If not, I don't know.
Good night. Let's go to the National League, man, to wrap this up. The first game on Saturday. Well, actually, no, all 4 of these games on Friday. I'm tripping. It will be St. Louis and Philadelphia making the playoffs for the first time since 2011. Game 1 of this series will be Zach Wheeler versus Jose Quintana. This one to me is a tricky one. I think it's going to go to 4-3. I'm going to roll with St. Louis. I wouldn't be shocked if Philly wins, but that game 1 matchup for Cardinals scares me a little bit for the Cardinals. I don't like Jose Quintana game 1. I just don't like it, especially going up against Zach Wheeler. I think that's a better situation for them. But I do think they can outlast them in a full series. And I think a game 3 at Busch Stadium will be better for them. I think you're going to get some clutch Albert Pujols in this series. But I also wouldn't be shocked either if Philly just went out there and just raked on their ass either and just got 2 quick dubs. So this could go either way. But I'm really leaning with the home teams in this shit. Now, I could be wrong with this shit. But, I did all my picks earlier on I'm not going to hold you, so I'm going to stick with the picks. So I'm going to go St. Louis in 3.
Yeah. I got I got Philly in 3. I think starting Quintana game 1 really sets you up to fail. You know,
that's a mistake.
and so yeah, I don't think that's and I think they're doing that because we talked about and we're gonna get into it. We talked about how the Mets, if you go Scherzer and DeGrom, and you throw your 2 aces, and you're setting yourself up for failure in the second round. So I think they're looking at it like, well, we can beat them, but we still got to run into the Braves next.
But you gotta get to the Braves,
and that's I think you have to get there. So you have to pretty much have some conviction about, all right, are we going to use our best arms to make sure we continue? Or are we going to try to play the strategy game? Are we going to try to piece it together here and there? And so I think with the offense that Philly has, I like Philly in this series. I got Philly.
Oh, man. St. Louis, man, look. The 2 Goldsmith and Arenado, bro. They just have guys. Their pitching is really struggling, though.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. It's really because I like the team. I like the youngsters, Bader and all the youngsters. The 2 guys they have in the middle of the lineup, it's just hard to go against that pitch. Wainwright isn't. I mean, he's not his best. Who's going? Alvarez is going. Not Alvarez.
It's gonna be
going game 1.
Hugh is gonna be Quintana game 1, and then it's gonna be Miles Michaelis game 2.
Yep.
You're not brimming with confidence with that starting.
Yeah, and the Phillies got Nola going. I mean, I'm gonna change my pick, man. I'm going Philly. I'm going Philly.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Philly, man. Making it clean.
Yeah,
clean. Yeah, it's Philly.
Yeah, I love the Cardinals coming into this, but like you said, they're starting pitching. When you playing in a close series like this, in a condensed series, and it's like a regular season in the regular season. It's like a regular series in the regular season. It's 3 games in a row. You throwing Q out there, you better hope he gets you about 6 innings, because if he only gets you about 3 to 4, then now you already bleeding into that bullpen, and you still got, I mean, it's do or die. It's first to, it's first to 2 wins. I'm riding with. I had took the Cardinals too, but I'm riding with the Phillies. I'm riding with the Phillies in 2. I think that Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola combination.
That's a good one too, man.
The only thing that worries me with the Phillies is their bullpen is complete ass. It's leaking. They really don't have a go-to guy. They've been known to blow games, and the Cardinals got some of that,
that Cardinal voodoo, that Cardinal voodoo. Yeah,
don't let it be close. And
Arenado to left field,
right, hitting it over to the Big Mac zone over there where McGuire used to live. But yeah, I think the Phillies are primed for an upset here, man. When you rolling out Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola, you clearly got the advantage, and it's not like your lineup can't stack up. You got Schwarber, 40 bomb guy. You got Schwarber, Hoskins, Castellanos, Harper, JT Real Muto. Like, the Phillies are a sleeper.
Yeah, I think too, and all these games are going to be on ESPN and ABC, by the way. So I don't know who the hell is calling these games. But now let's get to the last series. We can wrap this pod up, man. I think it's going to be a series of the wild card round, Mets, Padres, man. This is going to be a great series. Game 1 is Max Scherzer versus Yu Darvish. My thing for here, I'm going to go Mets in 3. This could easily be a thing where the Padres win too, but I trust more in that pitching. When it comes to short series like this, really just in the playoffs in general, it's about pitching and bullpen, especially in a 3-game series. Like this, we talk about managerial decisions. This is where a manager can lose a game with the wrong decision in a very short series. I think it's going to be a raucous crowd in Queens. They're going to be ready. But it's just hard for me to go against Scherzer game 1 and the DeGrom game 2. Now, yeah, it's probably going to fuck them when they come to Chavez Ravine. You know what I'm saying? And then they can't get them to like game 3 and 4. But you got to get there. Worry about that problem when you get there. You know what I'm saying? The Dodgers got their own October fuck-up shit that they got to deal with also. So I think for this one, I just don't like the pitching with the Padres. They can put up the runs. And, Juan Soto, he's done better, but he hasn't been as great as I wanted him to do. But we also know how playoff Soto get down. He can do the thing. Manny can do the thing. This is going to be something where managerial-wise, I trust Buck Showalter a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to go with the Mets in 3 over the Padres.
I'm going to go Mets in 2. I'm not gonna mention it too. Like I know, like Soto, like you said, he's picked it up a little bit, but the way he's played since they made the trade, losing Tatis, Josh Bell has been bad. Like he was one of the best switch hitters, if not the best switch hitter in baseball first half of the season. Since he got over to San Diego, he's just really hasn't gotten to a rhythm at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like you said, I know they competing for an opportunity to go play the best team in baseball, and but at the end of the day, like you said, I trust Mad Max and DeGrom over everybody else. Just flat out. Like I love you, Darvish. Like even when he was on the Cubs, I like you, Darvish. Like he's a pitcher to me. Like somebody I really rock with. But this Mets team, I think a lot of the conversation around them has been that they fumbled the NL East, and it's like no, the Braves just went and took it. Like the Braves were like the hottest, if not the hottest, like the second hottest team in baseball since the All-Star break. So they just came and played extremely well. But the Mets were also a very good team all season. Like they have their issues, they blew some games they should have won, but I think stepping back, having them refocus, and talked about it earlier about the team having a leader. We know Buck Showalter is gonna show up. Like he had that one when they lost in Toronto where he should have put in Britain and he didn't. But for the most part, his resume speaks for itself. So I know a guy like Buck is gonna have his team ready to go. So I got the Mets in too.
What worries me about the Mets is their hitting. Because over the last month or so, they laid some eggs where they just really couldn't score any runs. Left a lot of runners in scoring position. I think this is obviously the best series in the wild card round. It has the most star power. The rotations, you got DeGrom and Scherzer, but Darvish, Snell, and Musgrove. Darvish, Musgrove, Snell is not a bad 1, 2, 3 in a best of 3 series. Darvish, they went out there the Padres went out there in July and took 2 or 3 from them. Darvish pitched very well against them, and that was when they had Starling Marte, and Starling Marte might not be ready until maybe the DS or the CS if he can come back and the Mets can advance. I'm gonna go 3 games Mets. I'm gonna go 3 games Mets. I think they lose the DeGrom game.
It's crazy because to kind of piggyback on your point, they have struggled and they've struggled with power, right? Like Marte, Polar Bear and Marte pretty much are the power bats for that lineup. McNeil, won the batting championship. He's been great. Lindor every now and then will come around with a big time home run. And Tay was right. Like no disrespect to what we saw them to go down there and get swept in Atlanta. That was just Atlanta. Like I'll keep it a buck. Atlanta, I know the Dodgers won the most games, but Atlanta might be the least flawed team in the National League.
Man,
that's crazy. That's
crazy
series. As long as Spencer Strider comes back and can pitch, that's my repeat right there.
My loyalty is to my Dodgers, but I think
right. But the Dodgers, you worry about the Dodgers bullpen, right? You worry about the Dodgers bullpen, right?
I'm worried about the Dodgers every time October starts. Period.
And it's like, man,
since I moved here, they've been colossal fuck ups when October comes.
That's why I won't even hold a division against the Mets. The Braves were just a better team. They were just a better team. This is interesting, but the craziest thing I heard is that they're really contemplating if they win game 1 with Scherzer, they're going to go with Bassett in game 2 and save DeGrom for game 1 of the DS.
Yep, which would be smart. That's smart.
And I'm like,
it is risky.
Right.
It's risky.
Yeah, it's risky. Like you want to go, man, you want to chance that? And don't get me wrong, Chris Bassett has been good
solid
for them.
Yeah, he's solid. He's nice. He's smooth.
Yeah, he cool.
He's smooth.
He agree, but that's. I didn't know that they were contemplating.
They were actually, they're considering that because they want to set up DeGrom.
Yeah, they don't have a game 2 starter listed
in game 1.
Yeah.
But that to me, that's like a panic move.
That's why tomorrow is a must-watch game with Max Scherzer on the mound. For those that are listening, this going out tomorrow, Scott?
It's going up tonight.
tonight, for those that are listening, free play Max Scherzer over 5.5 strikeouts. It's very low. It's probably, if I look right now, it probably has gone up a K or two. I looked at his Mad Max in the postseason. He does his fucking thing, man.
Yeah.
So I think tomorrow he's gonna come out like a madman. He's gonna be rocking that blue eye and brown eye is gonna be twitching. Let me see right now. Hold on, I had it at. It's still over 5.5. Maybe Vegas knows something I don't know. I do not think that they're gonna. I think they're gonna let in a short series like this where you got to win 2. I think they're gonna let him go as deep as he can.
For sure.
Every single season that Max Scherzer has been in the postseason, when his K number is at 5.5, he's gone over it pretty much 80% of the time. So over 5.5 Ks. Tomorrow's much watched baseball.
I'm looking forward to it, man. It's gonna be a lot of baseball, a lot of football this weekend, man. I'm gonna be in the crib majority of the weekend, man. So it's gonna be fun. Shaun, man, as usual, thank you for joining us. Anything you want to promote? Let anybody know what check you out at.
Man, just covering SI college football, focused on Notre Dame, beat reporting, recruiting is getting hot and heavy right now with 23 and 24 recruits, taking game day visits. So I was supposed to be out in Vegas. Wedding came up, so unfortunately I can't make it. That was going to be like one of the best parts of this job, hitting Vegas and hitting the Legion Stadium for that game. But SD2 Mikes, Instagram and Twitter. And that's about it, man. Appreciate you guys for having me, man. It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
No doubt, man. You know where to follow Mikey at Junior_Solito on Twitter. You know where to follow Dante at OctoberZone on Twitter. You know where to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Barberchair Scott. Follow the Barberchair Network at BarberchairNet. Subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/Barberchair Network. We got all 3 of the tiers, man. We're free for this week only because y'all did a great job of boosting them subscribers up in September. So, you know what I'm saying? If we keep doing this, I might keep giving y'all the free weeks. You know what I'm saying? So get that out right there, man. So we're going to holler at y'all next week. We're going to do a DS preview, man. So look out for that, man. We are out.